Thanks for coming today. So I'm Chris Wildeman, and today I'm tasked with giving the welcoming remarks both on behalf of the Bronfenbrenner Center for Translational Research and on behalf of Anna, Julie, and myself. So a couple things to sort of drive home before I start that. So first, I can hopefully make it through pretty quickly. I have no attention span or memory, and so I don't do well with the long intros in the audience, so I'll try to be pretty quick. Second, those of you who have ever seen me present know that it's just like random free association pretty much, and there's not really any structure. So for this, I actually have to like hit certain points. So there will be reading and monotone. So I'm gonna apologize in advance for that. And third, I just want to say thanks so much to everybody for getting here bright and early. Even my esteemed co-author, Sarah Wakefield, who always complains about the early hour of things, has not done so. So I'm really appreciative of that. It's nice to get rolling and not start the day already behind. So with all that said, let me start by talking a little bit about the Bronfenbrenner Center for Translational Research. And you also have, by the way, this nice little booklet, which will do a much better job than I would. So just to establish some context, the Bronfenbrenner Center for Translational Research is located within the College of Human Ecology, which is proudly, I don't want to say that too loud since we're not on the state side right now, on the state side of Cornell. Founded in honor of Urie Bronfenbrenner and consistent with his work, I think of the BCR as having two core goals. I have only started doing things with the BCTR about 2 years ago, although I'm an associate director now, so hopefully these goals are not completely incorrect. So first, I think of BCTR as providing greater opportunities for scholars and advocates, policymakers, and practitioners to engage more directly with one another in ways that make for stronger research and better communities. So I think of this really as being sort of a bidirectional relationship in a way that these things often aren't. And second, I think of BCTR as really encouraging this multidisciplinary, multi-level sort of perspective, which is so consistent with all of Bronfenbrenner's work. As I'll discuss in detail later, I think that both components of this mission fit tremendously well with this conference. And I have to say that this is one of the reasons that I'm so excited about being involved in this event. So that's just give you sort of a really, really brief perspective on the BCTR. And I want to acknowledge a couple sort of key funders, although I don't think they have arrived yet, so we'll probably end up acknowledging them again. But and they're also very special guests for the fifth Bronfenbrenner Conference. Miss Connie Ferris-Meyer, who I don't think is here, and then also Mrs. Lisa Bronfenbrenner. We'll probably have them stand and be acknowledged later when they're here. In addition, this conference has also been supported by the Center for Child and Family Wellbeing, which Julie runs at the University of Wisconsin-Madison, the BCTR, of course, and the Institute for the Social Sciences here at Cornell University, which is partially funding it through part of a theme project award that Anna and I are involved in. It's also been funded by the Finger Lakes branch of the Scholar Strategy Network, which Laura Tack and I run together here, and I'm happy to talk to you about a bit more. Before we move any further, I do want to especially acknowledge Amy Breeze, who's going to be mad at me for doing that, for just all the great work that she's done. This definitely would not have happened without her. I'm really thrilled at how organized things are, especially since some of us like me are not particularly organized. So thank you so much for all your help. Unfortunately, now I'm going to be in trouble for the next 36 hours for having done that. But on the upside, everything is organized, so I won't be in too much trouble. When there's no food or drink at dinner, we know whose fault it is. So I apologize in advance. So without further ado, let's talk a little bit more directly about the conference. So the topic of the conference, as I think all of you know, is parental incarceration. It's funny, now that I'm teaching a larger undergraduate class, I feel like you can never actually be certain that people know why they're in the room, but no one got up and left or looked super duper uncomfortable when I said that. So that's a good starting point for us. I think all of us in this room are clearly biased in favor of thinking that this is an important topic. But I think there are also really good reasons to think that the facts support this bias. So in just the last 40 years, parental imprisonment has been transformed from a rare event experienced only by the most unfortunate kids to something that's shockingly common in the US, especially to places like Denmark, Laos and Sina. So roughly 1 in 12 American children will have a parent imprisoned at some point. This is prison incarceration, right? Not jail incarceration. So we're talking here about somebody who's been sentenced for at least a year and will end up doing at least 7 or 8 months, even on the lower end. So this is a strong sort of treatment when we talk about that 1 in 12 sort of number. For African American children and children whose parents have low education, the risks are even higher. And indeed, for African American children whose fathers didn't finish high school, parental imprisonment is now a modal life course event. Because female imprisonment rates are so much lower than male imprisonment rates, risks of maternal imprisonment are still outpaced by risks of paternal imprisonment. But risks of maternal imprisonment are nonetheless large and look to be continuing to grow in a way that risks of paternal imprisonment have not, making them all the more troubling in the contemporary era. So I see this conference as distinctive in 2 ways, and Julia and Anna vetted these and agree that this is true. I probably added like 4 extra points at some point, but so I'm sure it's unique in a whole bunch of other ways. So first, I think this is maybe the most diverse group ever assembled to discuss this issue, with scholars from economics, psychology, criminology, sociology, and social work, to name just a couple of the fields present, as well as activists, practitioners, and government employees who have been leaders on these issues. This multidisciplinary group is important because research on the consequences of parental incarceration for children has largely developed independently across disciplines, which has led to some of the core debates in the field not moving along as I think they might have. I feel like all of us who do work on this topic, Joyce, thank you for nodding. I super appreciate the affirmation. But I think all of us who have been working in this field for a long time would sort of feel the same way. And I think one of the things that we have an opportunity to do here is really try to shift that discussion. So if you think about research on maternal incarceration, for instance, it's maybe the best example of this, as folks working in different disciplines have reached totally different conclusions regarding the effects of maternal incarceration on kids. All of us gathering in the same place thus allows us for a unique opportunity for these issues to be raised and discussed at length, and I think provides an opportunity and also gives us an opportunity to provide a really strong edited volume on the topic. I do think that this is a totally pressing sort of issue, that these things have developed completely in different ways across fields, and that's actually why we're leading with a session on these sort of 3 different sort of core perspectives. The conference is also unique, I think, because it provides insight into a number of different types of programs that might help children with incarcerated parents. The range here, I think, is especially impressive. And one of my personal hopes for the conference is that the conversations we have here could help us all think creatively about experiments we might want to test that could enhance the well-being of children of incarcerated parents, including, of course, experiments that divert their parents from incarceration entirely, which is what Laos and Sina and Maria and I will be talking about, and also programs that focus more broadly on kids, which is a lot of what Lonnie's presentation will be on. The time, I think, is right for an intervention-based study to secure enough funding to give us experimental evidence regarding the types of programs that might help children with incarcerated parents in a way that has not been before. And I think this makes a conference like this that's truly multidisciplinary a really sort of unique opportunity for thinking through where we might go next. Okay, so I lied. I guess there are three things that make this conference exceptional. Usually when you organize a conference, there are a number of folks who end up there who are on the B list or even the C list, which is not to disparage them, but just to indicate that they wouldn't have been your absolute first choice. That just couldn't be further from the truth for this group. And we're so thrilled about that being the case. I can't think of a better group of folks to be editing this volume with and organizing things with, and a better group of scholars to hear from. So that is a really exciting thing. Doing edited volumes is a tremendous amount of work, as Anna and I have been discussing, especially in our meetings recently. And getting the folks that you really wanted to come is such a big deal, especially to Ithaca, which is not particularly centrally located, as some folks have pointed out to me when their flights were delayed. Okay, so all that being said, and I swear we'll end at some point, there are 6 brief things I want to mention now. First, if you haven't noticed, the conference is being videotaped and audio taped for the web, so just be aware of that. Also be aware that there's almost no way that you could give a presentation less coherent than what you've just heard. So I'm setting the bar low for you. Everything's going to be all right. Second, for all the folks who are presenting or contributing to the volume, there is a group shot by this gentleman to your right, or my right, your left. Yeah, not good with things like that. And it's going to be right after, right at like 11, so 11:30, 11:45, right before lunch. So, and it's going to be that direction. Thank you, Anna. So just try to make sure that you're there for it. We really want to make sure we get everybody together. Third, the men's room is to my right. The ladies' room is to my left. Switch that for you. Fourth, for questions, there are microphones for recording purposes. So we'll just sort of pass those around, I think, or they'll go in the middle depending on, I don't remember what we agreed on. But just make sure that you ask your questions into that just so we have sort of a complete transcript. Fifth, we focused on 3 basic sections: interdisciplinary perspectives on parental incarceration, targeted interventions for children of incarcerated parents, and broader interventions that could help children of incarcerated parents. We've also tried to build in as much time for chatting as possible. So if we stay basically on time, we have plenty of time to take breaks and have broader discussions. I think with this multidisciplinary group, these things are especially important. And Cornell, I think, happily is becoming a real hub, even more than it has been, I think, for incarceration-related research. And so there are a bunch of folks like Mary Katzenstein that I see, even just glancing out into the audience, who I think would be really excited to talk to you about those things. I feel like I might have covered everything. I'm sure there's something completely essential that I forgot. But welcome, and we're going to have a little, we'll probably try to start maybe 10 minutes early for the first session. So you have sort of 10 minutes to chit-chat, go to the restroom, load up on calories or caffeine, and then we'll be good to go. So thanks again for coming.